Once upon a time, in a small town nestled between rolling hills and lush green forests, there lived a family of 4, the Smiths. There was Mr. and Mrs. Smith, their daughter Sophie, and their son Jack. The Smiths were known throughout the town for their closeness and warmth, a family whose love for one another was visible to anyone who saw them together. They lived in a cozy cottage on the edge of town, with ivy creeping up the sides and a small garden that Mrs. Smith tended with pride. The smell of blooming flowers often drifted out into the street, inviting neighbors to stop by and chat. Inside, the house was filled with laughter, the soft crackle of the fireplace in winter, and the aroma of home-cooked meals throughout the year. The children, Sophie and Jack, were full of life and curiosity. Sophie, 12 years old, had the kind of imagination that could transform an ordinary day into a magical adventure. Her chestnut hair was always slightly tangled from her endless explorations, and her hazel eyes sparkled with mischief and excitement. Jack, 10, was more grounded but equally adventurous. He loved nature and could spend hours observing insects, birds, and the tiniest details of the forest. Together, the siblings formed a perfect pair. Sophie's creativity and Jack's practicality balanced one another in the most charming way. One warm summer morning, the sun rose gently over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Mr. Smith woke earlier than usual, stretching and feeling the excitement of the day ahead. Today, he decided, would be perfect for a family adventure. Quietly, he tiptoed to Sophie and Jack's rooms to peek at their sleeping faces. The thought of a day spent together brought a wide smile to his face. "Wake up, everyone," he called out cheerfully as he entered the kitchen. "Today, we're going on a special adventure." The house stirred with excitement. Sophie's eyes flew open, and Jack's bed creaked as he sat up. They both rushed to the kitchen, where Mrs. Smith was already preparing a breakfast that smelled like sunshine itself. Golden pancakes stacked high, fresh berries glistening with dew, and a pitcher of orange juice awaited them. As they sat down at the table, laughter and chatter filled the room. "Where are we going?" Sophie asked, her curiosity practically vibrating through her words. "Ah, Mr. Smith said, winking, "it's a surprise. But I promise, it will be worth it." After breakfast, the family gathered their belongings. Picnic baskets were packed with sandwiches, fresh fruits, homemade cookies, and lemonade. Blankets, hats, and water bottles found their places in the backpack. Jack checked his binoculars, hoping to spot some rare birds, while Sophie insisted on bringing her sketchbook to capture the beauty they might see. Their journey led them into the nearby forest, a place they had visited many times, yet every trip felt entirely new. The forest seemed to have a life of its own. The tall trees swayed gently in the breeze, whispering secrets to one another, while beams of sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating patterns on the soft, mossy ground. Birds sang in harmony, and the occasional rustle of small creatures in the underbrush added to the symphony of the woods. Sophie and Jack ran ahead, chasing each other and laughing as they darted between trees. Jack spotted a brightly colored butterfly and called Sophie over. "Look at this one," he exclaimed, pointing. Sophie knelt down to observe, sketching it in her book while murmuring notes about its delicate wings. Meanwhile, Mr. and Mrs. Smith walked hand in hand, enjoying the peacefulness and beauty surrounding them. They spoke in quiet tones, reminiscing about past trips and laughing about small, shared memories. Mr. Smith paused occasionally to point out a bird's nest or a peculiar mushroom, teaching Jack about the wonders of nature. Mrs. Smith smiled, watching her children's enthusiasm and feeling grateful for these simple yet profound moments. After about an hour of walking, they reached a small hill that offered a breathtaking view of the lake hidden within the forest. The water shimmered in the sunlight, reflecting the sky's vibrant colors and the trees lining the shore. The sight made Sophie gasp in delight, while Jack immediately began searching for the best spot to observe the fish and birds. They found a cozy area under a large oak tree, its branches wide and welcoming. Here, they spread out their blanket and unpacked the picnic. The air smelled faintly of pine and wildflowers, and the gentle lapping of the water against the shore created a soothing melody. They ate slowly, savoring each bite, and shared stories of their past adventures. Sophie told a story about the time she had rescued a baby squirrel, and Jack added exaggerated details about a giant frog that had nearly swallowed his shoe during one of their earlier lake visits. Their parents laughed heartily at these stories, enjoying the children's vivid imaginations. After lunch, Mr. Smith suggested they go for a swim. Sophie and Jack squealed with delight, quickly changing into their swimsuits. They ran toward the water, splashing and diving in, their laughter echoing across the lake. Mr. and Mrs. Smith followed, the cool water washing away their worries and bringing back memories of simpler times. Together, they swam, played games, and explored hidden coves along the shoreline. They discovered small fish darting beneath the surface and watched a family of ducks glide gracefully across the water. As the afternoon wore on, they decided to take a short hike around the lake. The forest path led them to a small waterfall, where the water cascaded over rocks, creating a fine mist that sparkled like diamonds in the sunlight. Sophie sketched the waterfall while Jack tried to count the number of frogs croaking nearby. Mr. Smith climbed a small rock formation to get a better view, and Mrs. Smith took a moment to sit quietly, listening to the sounds of nature and feeling at peace. During their walk, they encountered a curious fox that watched them cautiously from the forest edge. Jack froze in awe, and Sophie whispered, "Don't scare it away." They watched as the fox padded silently through the trees before disappearing into the undergrowth. It was a magical moment, one that reminded them of the beauty and mystery of the natural world. The sun began its descent, casting a warm, golden glow over the lake. Shadows lengthened, and the air turned cooler. The family gathered their belongings and prepared to head home. But before leaving, they took a quiet moment to sit by the water's edge, reflecting on the day's adventures. Mr. Smith spoke softly, "These are the moments that stay with us forever. The laughter, the discoveries, the love we share, it's all part of our story." On the walk back through the forest, the family shared their favorite memories of the day. Sophie loved the sight of the fox and the patterns of sunlight on the lake. Jack cherished the thrill of discovering hidden coves and observing fish. Mrs. Smith smiled at the laughter and playful bickering of her children, while Mr. Smith felt gratitude for the simple joys of being with his family. They promised to return soon, knowing that the lake and the forest would always welcome them with open arms. When they returned home, tired but happy, they sat together on the porch. The first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of the nearby forest. Mr. Smith wrapped his arms around his family, feeling the depth of his love for them. They spoke softly about the day, making plans for future adventures, and sharing quiet moments of contentment. That night, as they drifted off to sleep, Sophie dreamed of butterflies and foxes, Jack imagined hidden coves and shimmering fish, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith relived the laughter and love of the day. The Smiths knew that no matter where life took them, they would always have each other and the memories of their magical adventures together. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but the memory of that summer day by the lake remained vivid in their hearts. Sophie's sketchbook was filled with drawings, each one telling a story of their adventures. Jack kept a small journal, noting observations and little discoveries. Mr. and Mrs. Smith often reminisced about the day, smiling at the laughter and joy they had shared. Even years later, when Sophie and Jack grew older, the lake remained a special place for the family. They returned whenever they could, finding new wonders, making new memories, and strengthening the bond that tied them together. The forest and the lake were more than just places, they were a part of the Smith story, a living reminder of love, laughter, and the magic of family adventures. And so, the Smiths continued their journey through life, hand in hand, heart to heart, knowing that the simplest moments, shared together, were the ones that mattered most. They understood that happiness was not found in grand gestures or faraway travels, but in the laughter of children, the warmth of shared meals, and the beauty of nature that surrounded them every day. Every summer, they returned to the lake, each visit adding another chapter to their story. They learned to listen to the whispers of the trees, to watch the flight of birds, and to appreciate the small miracles that nature provided. The forest taught them patience, the lake taught them calm, and their shared experiences taught them the value of love, kindness, and togetherness. Years later, Sophie and Jack would tell their own children about the magical lake, the fox, the waterfalls, and the laughter-filled afternoons spent with their parents. And in doing so, the legacy of those simple summer adventures continued, touching hearts across generations. Because the Smiths knew, as families everywhere eventually discover, that love and shared experiences are timeless. And in their hearts, the memories of that warm summer day. Of laughter, swimming, exploring, and simply being together, would remain forever. Don't forget to subscribe our channel.